Hello everyone, this is TheNelston, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about an issue that is sorely under-discussed within the Wynncraft community, so much so that changes to it were not even mentioned in 2.0 update plans. That topic is, of course, why Wynncraft's travel system is broken and what exactly can be done about it. Now, I want to preface this video by saying that I personally think Wynncraft's travel system is a much better design system than a lot of the other ones that you can find in other MMORPGs. Of course, this video is meant to give constructive criticism, so we'll be discussing both the positives and the negatives in order to provide a well-rounded assessment. Before starting the content though, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Jim from the Wynncraft Discord for letting me bounce ideas off of him and helping me clean up this video script. Alright, with that being said, let's get right into this. To start, yes, this video is going to be almost entirely about teleport scrolls and how to fix them. See, the issue is that scrolls are way too powerful at the moment. Wynncraft is a rich world designed to be explored quite thoroughly. In this sense, it is quite similar to old school MMORPGs like RuneScape, pre-Bang MapleStory, and so on and so forth. However, for just a handful of emeralds and a single soul point, which, by the way, don't even get me started on how broken the soul point system is, I can zip all the way from Almuj to Omsword. I mean, sure, yeah, you have to first get to the place before you unlock the ability to scroll there, but after that, there's no reason to ever run a route to your destination again. This ease of access, in my opinion, creates two major issues. First, alternative forms of travel become backups at best and worthless at worst. Sure, walking and riding horses are going to be better for getting to quest areas, but for city hopping, there's literally 0 point to anything besides scrolls. When instantaneous travel to anywhere is possible, everything else that's even marginally slower simply cannot compete. Sure, there's a cost associated with it, as I mentioned before, but there's also a time cost associated with having to move from point A to point B manually. At any point after the very early game, that time cost far outweighs the emerald and soul point cost. In MMORPGs, time is perhaps the single most valuable resource, and being able to circumvent on-foot travel, one of the biggest passive time sinks in any game, is very powerful, perhaps absurdly so. For example, a dude I know who plays Final Fantasy XIV, a game with practically free fast travel to any zone and city, tells me that many zones have no practical reason to be explored or appreciated because, you can just ride past them outside of quests. Secondly, the current system of scrolls promotes a thoughtless process of visiting cities. Because travel is so easy and so quick, it doesn't matter if you forget to do something. Without a heavier cost or restriction incurred upon the player for scrolling around, there's very little reason to actually think through what you plan to do when you get to wherever you need to go. Sure, this is more of a subjective take, but honestly, I enjoy being rewarded for actually planning out a trip prior to undertaking it. You might be wondering, well, with all these issues that you just listed, you might want to remove scrolls outright, don't you? Truth be told, I actually really like scrolls. Who doesn't? However, it's a long-running issue where convenience can actually detract from an intended experience. Older MMOs that have modernized lose their old-school touch and end up being less interactive in many aspects, such as world exploration. By making everything more efficient, more quick, and more powerful, you really lose the ability to kind of just slow down and actually enjoy the game for what it is. With that being said, I think we should keep scrolls, but limit their functionality in a few key ways. First, scrolls should have a cooldown period associated with them, something like, say, 5 minutes between each use of a scroll. This will force the player to think more about where they want to go before teleporting there. In this way, scrolls still remain and feel powerful, but this encourages wise usage instead of making travel way too easy. Secondly, scrolls should be limited to a specific range of service. What I mean by this is scrolls should only be able to move you to your desired location if you're within, say, 1,000 or so blocks of your destination. This way, just like how you need to get to a port city in order to access the Sea Skipper, you'd need to get to a specific place, i.e. within 1,000 blocks of your destination, to use the fast travel option. Finally, and this might be a little bit controversial, please get rid of the soul point requirement. With the time limitations I proposed, there'd be no need to rely on soul points for making scrolling less viable. After all, soul points are just a roundabout way of time gating, except that it can be easily exploited with world switching. I'll talk about that issue in a separate video, but other community members like Psyduck have already done really great write-ups on all the issues with soul points, and 2.0 promises to bring some changes, so I guess we'll have to wait on that. While scrolls have their own issues, we also need to acknowledge the problems with fast travel. At the moment, our options for fast travel kind of feel like an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, here's some extra immersion, I guess, in case anyone wants to use it instead of scrolls. Which, spoiler alert, nobody wants to do so because scrolls are so good. To elaborate, I mean that fast travel feels tacked on and not immersive. While some things are mostly fine, like the Ragni to Deathless tunnel, others feel much more shoehorned in, like the hot air balloon from Canon Beta. Like, why did we choose such an off-to-the-side area for such an important fast travel? The one notable exception to this feeling is the Sea Skipper, and I'll explain why I love that system later. The other issue with fast travel in the current game is that it just doesn't cover enough areas. For example, why is the aforementioned hot air balloon to Corcus only located in Canon Beta? Why isn't there a way to fast travel, scroll or not, to the Realm of Light? Or how about the lack of any connections to Lutho besides that one awful winding path you unlock in A Journey Beyond? It's things like this which I think make scrolls so embedded into the ecosystem of the game. When the alternatives are either extremely inefficient or just straight up don't exist, it's hard to do away with the band-aid solution. So, what would a better system actually look like? Well, I believe that there's already a working model in the game. That's right, it's time to put some respect on the Sea Skipper. See, the system we have with the Sea Skipper is literally everything I wanted to see from fast travel, and more generally, what I expected that Wynncraft's world is supposed to be explored like. Every single part of a vast area is connected, yet it doesn't feel like a cheaty system whatsoever. You can access certain important points, such as Selchar, from anywhere, but to get to a more remote or outlying area, you're going to have to take an outbound ship from a large port. The ride is fast but not instantaneous, and there is a price, one that's both very straightforward, costing only one currency, emeralds, and scales with the distance you intend to go. Hell, he even gives you free stuff sometimes. What's not to love about that? Honestly, my only gripe is that you can't pay the Sea Skipper in good old Nemrak whiskey instead of emeralds, but I guess at the end of the day, even his liver can only take so much. Well, I think anyways. One more feature that I think is commonly overlooked is that you can travel on the Sea Skipper with other people. Honestly, seeing other people while riding the boat is always a bright spot in my day, and it reminds me of old days in games like MapleStory, where you'd ride to an airship to Orbis with a ton of other people and hope to God a high-level player could handle the Balrog attacks. How specifically, though, would we improve fast travel based off of the Sea Skipper model? Well, I think the best way to do so is to make it the main method of long-distance travel, as well as generally the most efficient method of travel for distances exceeding the new scroll range limit of 1,000 blocks. To balance this, we could make it so that fast travel becomes time-gated in a similar manner to scrolls. For example, ships could depart from ports every 10 to 15 minutes or so. Players could gather up and travel together when vessels arrive. Just like the Orbis example I mentioned before, the travel between two cities could turn into a social event if implemented properly, and not just be a chore that needs to be done to move around the world of Wynncraft. The number one thing that I would do, given the power to fix travel with a magic wand, would be to expand on the current Sinfris Deathless airship route and kind of use that system of hubs and smaller travel systems as a primary example of how to set up the rest of our fast travel in Wynncraft. Think about it. How cool would it be to have Sinfris as the primary airport of Gavel, Deathless as the primary airport of Wynn, and Corcus as the primary airport of the ocean, with correspondingly grandiose structures like the airfield in Sinfris? Then, when new areas like Fruma come out, a designated city could be the main airport to and from the province. Building upon the system, we could have a network of smaller connecting flights or fast travels to link important places that are currently really tedious to travel to by foot. For example, how about a caravan between Thoughtless and Almouj? We could even take this one step further and make the very construction of an important route, say a tunnel between Thoughtless and Lutho, a server-wide event a la festivals. Picture this. For 1 week, players could either contribute resources to the construction of the route or fend off monsters that attack the project. They could cook and brew consumables to augment the efficiency of the mining crew, harvest better fuels to make Corkian drills run better, repair broken down equipment, and more. Regardless, the point is, there is an endless number of ways we could leverage new travel systems to both make the game more engaging and build up the community at the same time. At the end of the day, I believe that Wynncraft has a very solid foundation for a better travel system to be built upon. Compared to many other MMORPGs, I think the way that scrolls and fast travel, at least at their core, are implemented is very effective, even if the specific details need a little bit of fine-tuning. I believe the issues that I laid out and the proposed changes would vastly improve the way that travel in Wynncraft works and serve to make the game even better than it already is. But I wish that the dev team would just pay a little bit more attention to travel. Right now, it's such an unrefined system that has so much raw potential, and when travel is literally one of the most important things in any MMORPG, I honestly think that not working on it is almost criminal. That, of course, is just my subjective opinion on what is one of the most important things missing from the 2.0 update. With that being said, I'd like to ask you guys, what do you guys think about the travel system, and what do you think is the most important thing missing from 2.0 in general? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, so make sure to leave them down in the comment section below. If you have questions or suggestions regarding what I said in this video, please also feel free to leave that in the comments, or you can discuss the proposed changes in my Discord, which is going to also be linked down there. Alright, with all that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you loved the video, make sure to leave a like. If you hated it, make sure to leave a dislike. Subscribe for more content like this, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.